Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the trading room with Simon Ree. I am your host, Hisham. And without further ado, Simon, you say 85% of people who call themselves investors are actually lying to themselves. They're traders. They just won't admit it. That's pretty serious claim. I'm pretty sure half of the people either listening or watching this probably just folded their
Hmm.
arms. So I gotta put I gotta make sure. So go ahead and defend it. And where's that number coming from?
Yeah, good question. Look, that number isn't from a survey or anything. It's just from 30 years of my personal experience asking that exact same question. So, whether it was around the trading floors at Goldman in Sydney or in client offices around the Asia Pacific region, where I was sitting across from billionaires and hedge fund managers, and also teaching thousands of everyday people at Tao of Trading. I asked them all one question: do you consider yourself an investor in the stock market or a trader of it? And the answer, it nearly always comes back the same. I'm going to estimate 85% of the time they'll say, oh, I'm an investor. And the answer comes quickly. And it's often said, even with a little bit of pride, almost as if trader is a grubby word and something you'd only confess to after a few drinks. So I'm going to say at least 85 out of 100 people reach for the word investor. And then when I look at what they actually do with their money, the picture's very different.
Oh, okay, well, but hang on for a second. I mean, most people who say they're investors are in it for the long term, right? They're saving for retirement. They're buying ETFs. They're doing the dollar cost averaging. They're not flipping stocks every 5 minutes. So, what makes you call them traders?
Well, here's the thing. Nearly everybody gets the definition wrong. You ask 100 people what separates an investor from a trader, and 95 of them will say it's time horizon. Investors are in it for the long haul, and traders, well, they're in and out before lunch, right? But that's not it, right? The real distinction has actually got nothing to do with how long you hold something, and it's got everything to do with why you bought it in the first place. Okay, so the difference isn't time frame, it's purpose.
Purpose. Okay. Well, you've got my attention. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more, please?
Look, a real investor is the owner of a business, full stop. When they buy a stock, they're buying a slice of a company that they actually understand. They know how it makes money, they know who the customers are, they understand the business, and they believe they're paying a fair price for years of future profits. And they fully intend to participate in those future profits over the long term. They fully intend to be there along for the ride, maybe forever. The share price on any given Tuesday doesn't even register. Warren Buffett, buying a company that he loves the economics of it and he plans to hold it for decades, that's investing. That's the real version.
Mm,
Now we come to the other one. All right. Somebody who buys a stock at one price, fully expecting to sell it later at a higher price, that's a trader. And it doesn't matter whether they hold that stock for 9 seconds or 9 years. If your whole thesis is I'll buy it here and I'll sell it higher, you're trading. All right. You didn't buy a business, you bought a directional bet on price.
Wait, okay, wait. So you're telling me someone who holds a stock for 10 years can still be a trader?
Absolutely. The holding period is irrelevant. What matters is what's in their head when they bought it. What was their intent? What was their purpose? If they bought it thinking, I love this business, I don't mind owning it forever, and I'm going to take a share in the profits and the revenue stream, you're an investor. If they buy that stock thinking it's going to go up and I'll be able to sell it for a profit, they're a trader, even if they hold it for the long term. And here's the uncomfortable part. If you're watching this right now and that second description made you wince a little, then welcome. All right, you're a trader just like me. And there's nothing grubby about it. The only dangerous thing is not admitting it.
All right, Simon, I kind of have an idea where this is going and give the audience a way to figure this out for themselves. And a fair warning to those who are watching or listening, this is going to sting.
Forget what you call yourself. Forget how you think of yourself. Instead, watch what you do. All right, run yourself through this. All right, no lying to yourself. Have you ever bought a stock on a gut feeling? You're a trader. Do you check the value of your holdings every day or every week? You're a trader. Do you catch yourself wondering how this quarter's earnings will move the price? You're a trader. Do you care about how the market reacts to next month's job number or the next Fed meeting? If so, you're a trader. Have you ever thought, oh, I should sell this stock and buy this one because it's cheaper? Mate, you're a trader. Now, notice not one of those has anything to do with how long you hold. They're all about your attention to price.
Hmm. Okay, and what about someone who checks once a month, right? Not daily, not weekly, just a monthly review.
It's still trading, just on a longer term time frame. The frequency isn't the issue. The fact that you feel the need to keep checking means that it's price that matters to you. Now, here's the test. A true investor doesn't flinch at a 20% drawdown in a business that they really believe in. They might even back up the truck and buy more. But if a falling price drops your stomach through the floor and a rising price makes you feel really clever, then your relationship with that stock is really a relationship with its price. And that is trading. And there's absolutely no shame in it. The shame and the cost shows up when you pretend otherwise.
Okay, so let's get to the cost because this is where it stops being a debate about words and starts being about money.
Exactly. So let's stop playing word games for a minute because this is where it gets expensive. Conventional financial theory rests on this charming little fiction. It assumes that we're all rational actors, cool, unemotional decisions, all maximizing our returns. It's a lovely idea. And look, let's face it, nobody buys a stock hoping to lose money. Anyone who's actually traded real money, though, knows that this is a fairy tale, right? The two oldest forces in any market aren't earnings and interest rates, they're fear and greed. They've moved prices since the first shares traded hands under the buttonwood tree in 1792, the origins of the New York Stock Exchange. And they move prices right now, today, in whatever you're holding. And there's an entire academic field called behavioral finance that exists for one reason, to document the dozens of predictable reasons why human beings sabotage their own portfolios.
Right. So who's most vulnerable to all of this then? Is it the trader or the investor?
Well, here's the cruel irony. All right, the person most exposed to fear and greed is the one who's convinced that they're above it all. The self-described investor, right? They've taken their armor off. They've declared the battle won before the first shot's even been fired. Now, the trader who admits he's a trader, he knows the emotional reactions are coming. He builds a system to handle them in advance. The investor who's actually a trader, they get caught flat-footed every single time. No risk management rules, no process. They're not playing good defense because they didn't think they needed to. And then a 20% drawdown hits, and the part of the brain that was supposed to make a calm, considered decision is hiding under the table screaming.
and and well, walk me through what actually happens, right? The self-described investor buys a stock, it moves against them. What does ego do next?
Yeah, well, this is another cruel twist because what tends to happen is they'll sell their small winners to lock in a small gain because that soothes the ego, makes the ego feel clever. Oh, I made a profit on that stock. But then they cling to their losers, refusing to sell because selling means admitting they were wrong. And then they tell themselves a beautiful, comforting lie. They've heard it 100 times. They might even repeat it to other people. They say, you never make a loss until you sell. Now, people dole that out like it's a piece of wisdom. It's not. It's just the ego negotiating with reality. And it's probably ruined, that one phrase has probably ruined more retail accounts than any other myth. A loss is a loss the moment the price falls, whether or not you click the button. Refusing to sell isn't patience. It's just the ego's allergy to regret and feeling wrong. So what happens is the unaware investor ends up doing the exact opposite of the only rule that matters in this game. They cut their winners short and they let their losers run. Death by 1,000 emotional decisions, every one of them made by someone who would swear blind they're being rational.
It's so funny that you said that because I've witnessed and watched friends do this, right? They'll have a winner, they're up 20%, they're so proud that they've sold, and then they'll have a loser down 30%, and then they'll say, it'll come back, right? The same person, the same week, completely opposite behavior.
Yeah, same person, same week. And it's because the ego is running both decisions, not a disciplined process. And the same ego can wreck the real winners too. A position runs up beyond your wildest hopes, and instead of taking the profit, you keep inventing fresh reasons to hold on. Greed and FOMO, the fear of missing out, have taken over, but you call them conviction.
And if you don't mind, can you please paint the picture for me? I want to try to visualize this here.
Okay, picture this guy. I've watched this play out 100 times. I've even lived it myself in years gone by. He buys a stock at $50. He's done his homework. He's pleased with himself. Stock climbs to 60. He's checking it 3 times a day now because every time he looks at it, he feels clever. It inflates his ego. He's a genius. Then it slips back to $56. And a little voice in his head pipes up, take the profit. Take the profit before it disappears. Better safe than sorry. So he sells at 56, banks his $6, feels responsible, maybe even prudent, and then still a little bit clever. Now, the same week, he's holding another position. He bought it at $40. That's now sitting at $31. This one, he will not sell. No way. It's a great company, he tells himself. The market's wrong. I will not make a loss until I sell. It'll come back. Stock drifts back to $24. He buys more, calls it averaging down or dollar cost averaging, says it like it's a strategy. It's not a strategy, it's a hostage negotiation with his own ego. Stock goes to $18. So add it up. He took a quick $6 win off the table and he wrote a $22 loss into the dirt. Now, he didn't do this because he's dumb. He's clearly sharp enough to analyze the company. He did it because at the precise moment decisions mattered, fear and greed were behind the steering wheel, and logic was tied up in the boot of the car. And the whole time, he'd have told you with a straight face that he was a calm, rational investor.
Right. And you know what, chances are most people watching this or hearing this have either watched someone do exactly this or done it themselves or probably both, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprisingly common. I've certainly done it before, more than once. And here's what changed for me. And it wasn't that I suddenly got smarter, it's that I stopped trusting myself to be rational in the heat of the moment. And I built rules and a process that override my emotions in the heat of the moment. And that's it. That's the whole shift.
All right. Well, that's some good news. You know, the moment someone accepts that they're a trader, they can actually start getting good at it, right?
Yes, and that's the liberating part. That's the bit I want everyone watching this to walk away with. A good trader doesn't pretend that emotion has left the building. He expects it. He knows feelings routinely override logic. And that is the reason, the entire reason opportunity exists. The herd's fear is his discount. The herd's greed is his exit. He can read emotional extremes in the market precisely because he's not too busy denying his own. And what's more, he's built a system, rules written down in advance, when to get in, and more importantly, when to get out. Risk defined on every single position so that no one trade can ever take him out of the game. Position sizing that lets him sleep well at night, and it's just the same boring process, trade after trade after trade, all prepared in the cold light of day. Not because he's a
Right.
robot, right? None of us can be. It works because he stopped relying on willpower in the heat of battle and he started relying on a process that he's built and designed when he was cold and unemotional.
Got it. And so the goal isn't to be a better trader. It's to maybe think of yourself completely differently.
Yeah, and I say this all the time. Don't think of yourself as a trader, think of yourself as a risk manager. All right. You don't get paid for being right. You get paid for managing risk while you let probabilities work their magic over the longer term. And here's the part that should set you free. The market doesn't know you exist and wouldn't care even if it did. Right? The market is not negotiating with you personally. It's not testing your conviction. It's not punishing you for being wrong. It's just price, moving according to billions of dollars of fear and greed in motion. Your job is to position around it, not to feel things about it.
Right. So Simon, the same question that you opened with, and please be honest now. If someone's watching this, how do they answer it?
Okay, look, if you own businesses and the daily and weekly price fluctuations genuinely don't move the needle in your pulse, you're a rare and unfortunate investor. Go in peace and may you compound quietly for decades. But if any of those questions earlier landed a little too close to home, if you watch price, feel price, trade the price, stop calling yourself something you're not. You're a trader, and the market's been treating you like one the whole time. And here's the good news, the bit that I actually want you to walk away believing. Traders, trading can be taught. Fear and greed can be managed. The day you stop lying to yourself about who and what you are is the day you can finally start getting good at it. Now, if you want my read on the markets each week, not the noise, not the FOMO, just the process, the macro setup, the setups that I'm closely watching and putting my own capital on, I produce a free weekly video newsletter called Tao Weekly. Goes out every Monday, hours before the US markets open. Link is in the description below. And hit the subscribe button while you're down there, and that helps me keep these episodes coming. Good trading.
Awesome, Simon. Awesome, awesome. Simon, as always, thank you so much. Just as he said, please view in the link in the description for our Tao Weekly. Smash the subscribe button and also the thumbs up. And until then, we'll see you next week on the Trading Room. Thank you,
Awesome,
Simon.
Hisham. Thank you. I'll catch you next time.